Welcome to My Healing is Your Healing, a podcast for the woman who is ready to stop performing and reclaim her voice. I'm your host, Celeste, and around here, we don't do surface level. We go deep. Each week, we'll explore concepts like self-discovery, radical honesty, and the kind of healing that rewrites your story from the inside out. This is a space for truth-telling, for remembering who you are, and for coming home to yourself, louder, braver, and more radiant than ever. So come as you are, and let's do this together. Let's begin. Welcome back to My Healing is Your Healing, and I am your host, Celeste. And today, I want to start with a truth that is going to hit close to home. And this is one where you can look like you have it all together, and you can still be drowning in self-doubt. You can lead, succeed, inspire others, and still feel like an imposter in your own life. And that gap between performing strength and actually practicing self-leadership, that's where a lot of us get stuck. And why does this even happen? We were built for survival. Thousands of years ago, if you weren't part of a tribe, you didn't make it. You needed others to help you hunt and gather and protect against predators. That wiring has not gone away. And so today, we're still performing to belong. So we're people-pleasing and chasing validation. We're perfecting ourselves because on some level, our nervous system still believes that our survival depends on it. And so the problem is, performance is not connection. Performance keeps us surface level. It keeps us masked. And when you live that way for long enough, you forget who you are underneath that mask. So we need to name what's really happening here. Performance is when you shapeshift into what you think you're supposed to be. It's smiling when you want to scream, or saying yes when everything inside of you wants to say no. It's not you. It's that mask that you wear just to belong. And perfectionism is its twin. It whispers that if you just polish yourself enough, or work harder, be thinner, smarter, prettier, more accomplished, then you'll finally feel worthy. But perfectionism is a treadmill. The faster you run on it, the less progress that you actually make. And then there's people-pleasing. It feels good at first because you get the nod, the approval, the sense that you are safe in the tribe. But underneath all of it, it costs you your voice. It teaches you to trade your authenticity for acceptance. And these are all of our survival strategies. They kept us safe at one point in time. They helped us belong when belonging meant survival. But when performance and perfection and people-pleasing run your life, they cut you off from yourself. And the more that you do it, the harder it becomes to remember who you actually are. I know this because I lived this. When I lived in Phoenix, no one really knew who I was. People knew what my next race was, or my training stats, or the surface level Ironman Celeste. But that wasn't me. That was just the persona that I had built. And inside, I was numbing. Nobody knew this, but I was drinking a ton. I was binge watching shows just to keep me company. I was buying things on Amazon that I did not need. I was performing all day and numbing all night. And I remember looking in the mirror one day and not recognizing myself. I knew the face that I was looking at, but the light from her eyes was gone. She was clinging and surviving. And something inside of me whispered to me, this isn't enough. This is not the life that I was meant to live. From the outside, it looked like success. We talk about the career and the achievements, the friendships, and all of the medals on the wall. But inside, I felt like a stranger in my own skin. I wasn't at home in myself. That's why today's conversation matters so much, because we are talking about the moment when the strong image cracks and how to rebuild from there. My guest today, Nicky, has lived multiple lives. She's been a soldier. She's been a solo mom, an entrepreneur. She's hit rock bottom. She's faced the messy truth of imposter syndrome and identity loss, and then rebuilt her life through self-leadership. It's not about being perfect. It's about the courage to meet yourself when you strip away the performance and learning to lead your life from the inside out. So let's dive into this powerful conversation we're going to have with Nicky. Welcome, Nicky. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
Amazingly. Thank you so much for having me, Celeste. It is amazing to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that you joined us at 6:30 in the morning your time. It's incredible. I love it. Early risers makes me happy.
Yeah, exactly. Get it done.
Okay. Well, from a small town farm kid to award-winning Australian Army soldier, from solo mom to award-winning entrepreneur, I've built a life on showing up, speaking up, and backing myself in the toughest arenas. Today, as a personal leadership coach, I help women cut through life's battle noise, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and burnout, and reclaim their inner warrior. No fluff, no filters, just straight up self-leadership that changes everything. All right. I love this. And so you call it from
Warrior to warrior. It's depending on your
I love
accent is how
that.
it will come out. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because it sounds like the same word in English, but it's obviously a very different word.
I'm so excited to dig into this concept
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of us have these same types of masks that we've worn
Yeah.
for our entire
Yeah. Yeah,
lives,
exactly.
and especially the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, 100%. And it probably came from the other way around. When I had children, I was in the military before I had kids. And then I feel like I went the other way around. Like warrior, had everything sorted out, was in the top of my career and knew exactly where I was and what I was doing. And then having children went into the like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I almost went that way. And the sort of title came from that. Like I was going to write a book around it. And then I was like, well, hang on, how do I go back the other way? And it came to me very spiritually. I was going through one of life's big moments, and I was sitting in my backyard, and I was angry, and I was crying, and something wasn't quite right, and it just all came to me. I don't know how spiritual you are, Celeste, but I've got like 5 principles that all just flooded in, like as you would say, through source or through intuition or whatever it was, and they're so solid, and I sort of built my whole business from that point on. Through the courage because I really thought, oh, no one's going to like this. Warrior to warrior, how dumb. Because we do that to ourselves, don't we? But yeah, taken off,
Always.
yeah. And it's really, and lots of women resonate with it, and it's been a beautiful journey. So,
I love
yeah.
that. And the fun thing is that the people that are meant to find you will find
Yeah.
you, and those people that were warriors are now warriors.
Yes, exactly. That's right. And it's funny because I work with a lot of really strong women and they wouldn't self-identify as someone who worries. They're like, no, I've got it all together and I'm fine and I can carry 17 things at once. So, yeah, I have throughout my time sort of thought, oh, should I change that? And I was like, no, that's exactly why I need to keep it. Because there's strong women, and a lot of the work I do is with these really tough, women who can do everything and anything, it's not fulfilling them, and that softness is actually what they need, the ability to go, yeah, actually, that is too hard to carry for right now, and I am struggling with that, and I can put that down and receive help. So that's part of the whole journey. So yeah.
So you've dipped our toe just a little bit into your story. Can you share a little bit more about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said there, I grew up in a country town, like in the middle of nowhere, like, one post office, and one pub. And I grew up around a lot of boys, so farming country and around a lot of boys. And so I think that kind of shaped my resilience a little bit because I never had a clue that as a girl I couldn't do what boys could do because I was always with boys and I did what they could do. Even to the point, Celeste, where I tried to pee on a fence one time because all the boys were peeing on a fence. I was like, oh, well, that's what you do, right? So just like I think that really shaped my kind of my identity as a woman because as I went on through the world, like I said, I went on and it never occurred to me, like the whole like feminism and sexist and all of that, it just never occurred to me that I couldn't do what boys could do. Not to say that I didn't have that put on me. My mum was very much like, you know, you're a girl and this is how girls are. And, you know, from that sort of time in the world when gender was a bit different. So yeah, moving on into the military, I think that served me really well because it was just like, man, and like, so what? I'm surrounded by 50 boys, and then as I moved on into sort of my coaching business, I live in Perth, WA, where there's a big mining component here, and it's very masculine dominant environment, and so I really, you know, a lot of the work that I do with women is unpacking that kind of. You know, there is an inequality, but we don't have to be a victim in it. How do we show up and change that? How do we speak to the change rather than the problem? So yeah, that's been a bit of a passion of mine over the time. But yeah, I'm also a mama of three. I'm a solo mama of three. I was married to a military man who was away a lot, so I did the parenting by myself, which was a whole nother personal development and growth journey of its own. And we got divorced about 5 years ago now. And so navigating that has been massive as well. So like I said, there's these moments in your life when you have big things happen and, you know, you go through these transitions. And I would say I'm probably, you know, just coming out of the transition of divorce and navigating split family and identity in all of that. And so that's really impacted my work a lot as well.
I bet you're taking that and like throwing in new curveballs to all of the people that you coach too, because you've learned something brand new and you're able to share that new story that you
Oh,
have.
100%. And just like I always say, you know, I don't know if you know the human design model, Celeste, but like
Mhm.
I'm a 3-5 generator, and that is like I'm the person that needs to experience it to teach it, you know. And so I will walk into the fire of life and I will go, all right, let's dig into this so I can come back with the lessons for my people, my community, my clients. You know, and so yeah, going into that, yeah, I really did treat that a little bit like an experiment sometimes, but also I have been in or around a relationship since I was probably 15, 16 years old. I've never really been single for a very long time. So when I got divorced, I spent a really good chunk of time going, what do I want and who am I? And, you know, and that's been a really big impact on my work because I think so many of us we just followed the process. We just followed the bouncing ball. And, you know, we get to this age where we go, well, hang on a minute, what do I want? If you ask someone, what do you want? The answer is often, I don't know. Um, you know what I mean? And so that takes a little bit of soul searching and depth. And that was, and learning to be with yourself and learning not to band-aid loneliness with anybody, you know, just going like, nope, that's not the person. Nope, that's not the person. Like, you're waiting for the right fit for you. Like, yeah, really, really, like, you're absolutely right. A lot of it now comes back to my work of helping women to live the life they want.
I love that. Yeah, you're always looking for the person that's going to fix you or the thing that's going to solve your life so that you can have the life you want to
Yeah,
live.
exactly.
But you never realize until you hit that place where you're like, oh, shoot, I'm in charge of
Yeah.
that. I have to fix it. I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite questions is who are you and like what lights you up and what makes you who you are?
Oh, that's a big question, isn't it? So, who am I? Look, Nicky Veenvliet, and that's the name change coming out of marriage as well was a really big moment for me where I was like, I'm taking back my identity. I am
Yes.
crazy and chaotic, and I'm so like, there's so much polarity to me, Celeste. Like, you know, like people always go, how did you succeed in the army? Because you hate being told what to do. But I'm really good at that sort of organization and environment and tradition and structure. But also I really push back on those things. And, you know, I raised my kids very differently and much more openly and let them sort of flourish into the humans that they are. And so, yeah, people would say I'm funny, I'm silly, I'm crazy, and I'll get the job done. I always say if you're with me in a burning building, you won't like me, but I'll get you out alive.
I love that you just told me who you are, not what you
Yeah,
do. A lot of people lead with their titles, right? And they're like, I'm a mom or I run
yeah.
marathons, right? But you're like, I am quirky and I'm crazy and I love this about myself and I know this.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? It's probably because I've done a lot of work on that, on dropping the roles. You know, we all have different roles to play in life, but who are you underneath all of that? And this is where I get
Yeah.
really interested in people as well. I have to be a little bit aware or careful sometimes because when I meet new people or have new clients come on, I'm straight into the depth of conversation, like what's behind all of that, and that can be a little bit off-putting.
But then again, those people that are meant to be with you and that will resonate from you, they're there.
Yes,
They're right there with you.
100%. And then they're like, oh, well, okay, we're in it. Let's go. Yeah, so that's how it goes.
So I want to jump right into talking about imposter syndrome and
Yep,
self-doubt. First, I want to start out with where did it show up for you first? Because you sound like this very
right.
strong, intelligent, intense woman.
Intense is the right word, exactly. And this is the thing, and this is kind of how do I struggle to put this into my marketing and my language sometimes because these are the women that are attracted to me too. They are strong, intelligent, intense, but like in the moments of quiet, they're sitting in self-doubt. They're judging themselves. The feeling often is how it's often verbalized, Celeste, is like, and I very much had this, was like, people don't really think that. They don't really like me. They're saying that to be nice. They're just being nice to me. I'm just funny. I'm just making them laugh, or I'm just saying what they want to hear. And so I'm not really strong. So you know what I mean? It was a real kind of it's a real identity flip. So I think it's the well, for me, where imposter syndrome first showed up was um I was a pretty crazy kid. I didn't really have it as a kid. I mean, I had bullying and stuff as a kid, but when I went into the workforce, I very quickly got recognized as a leader. I got a phone call from my manager one time, and she was like, we're going to put you in a manager position because I can't remember the word she used. Oh, she said you've got a sense of normalcy about you, and I was like, have I? Like,
Never heard that one
do you
before.
know me? Yes. Um, and so that's where I felt it because they put me into this leadership spot and I was so flattered and was like, yes, of course I will. But I just felt like I didn't belong there because I was never raised as a leader. I was raised to be a good girl, you know what I mean? And so it was like I couldn't see this
Hmm.
leadership quality that she could see in me. And that's been a lifelong journey. Even when I went to the military, we do our basic training, and very early on, I got put into a leadership position there too. And I overheard a couple of my instructors talking, saying, she's one of our two strongest girls. And I was like, am I? Like, I just had no idea that that's who I was. And so it felt like I was faking it.
You know what's so funny? And I had this conversation with someone yesterday about how you think that you are just absolutely normal, right? And you like everything that you do and everything that you are, and you're looking around and you're like, yeah, everyone's better than
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But then you're like thinking about who you are. Like my friend has to remind me this all the time. He's like, Celeste, you have a doctorate and you have done 10 Ironmans. And he's like, yeah, no, you're not
Yeah,
normal.
that's
I'm
actually
like, oh,
not normal.
what?
And do you know what? You're so right, Celeste, because even my clients come to me and I go, have you seen yourself in the mirror? Oh my God, like look at what you've done and look at how fast you move and look at how willing you are to go in and learn new things. And like, doing Ironmans, that takes an immense amount of self-discipline and strength, right? But we go, yeah, but I just do it. But because when we're doing it, it's hurting us and we're in pain and we're dealing with our own negative thoughts and we're dealing with I don't want to get up and go to training thoughts. And so we're dealing with the reality of it. People are seeing the result.
That you just said yes, but, and I was like, oh man, that's exactly what goes through your head. But you already have this excuse in your mouth when someone's like, you're so amazing. Yes, but,
Yeah.
and then you just,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And do you know what? Like I said, coming back in and rebuilding my business now. So the context story is when I got divorced, I just wanted to separate myself from everything that was myself. And so I let my business go. I just couldn't ethically stay coaching people while I was going through such a big thing in my life. So coming back into it
Mhm.
now, I was just sitting down yesterday doing a 12-month reflection actually, and I was like, actually, it hasn't even been 12 months. In the last 6 months, I've pulled this back up. And someone called me on it the other day, Nikki, you keep saying I only got this and I only did that and that client only paid this and oh yeah, I did that speaking gig, but it was only because, and it's like, doing it again, like even though I've done 10 years of this work, doing it again, minimizing it, and yeah, like you said, going, yeah, but, yeah, like I did that, but, like, yeah. Yeah.
have to show you this thing. So my friend keeps me honest quite often, but I have this little milestone jar
Yeah.
that I've created.
Uh,
And so every time there's like a teeny tiny win, I'll take one of these slips of paper that I keep here and just write on it and
yeah.
put it in there because somebody will text me and be like, Celeste, you have to put this in there. That's a huge thing. And I'm like,
Is it? Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. I know. Yeah, I love that. I've got an electronic one. I call it the shit that works box. I'm like, go and put it in there. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So many women don't realize that self doubt can coexist with what looks like success.
Yes.
What does imposter syndrome actually feel like for you?
That's interesting because that was a big lesson that I had to go through in my because when you have a business that is you and your personal brand, when you're going through self-doubt, you show up differently. Or I had the stories that it was like I can't show up now because I'm going through some stuff, right? And that costs you in business. So learning that lesson that yes, you can be in self-doubt and you can still be that strong, successful person was massive for me. I did a lot of coaching work on that. You know what I mean? What was the question specifically? How does self-doubt show up for me?
Yeah, so a lot of women don't realize that self doubt can coexist with success or what looks like
Yes,
success,
yeah,
right? Because we all have our own
yeah.
version. So, what does it feel like for you when you're in that moment of imposter syndrome, but also you're still like thriving
Yeah,
on that
okay. So
success?
now it feels very different to how it used to feel. The early days of imposter, I used to feel quite guilty, like, oh my God, I'm lying to them. They don't know who I am. They think I'm this and I'm not. Now it feels like a marker of success. And let me explain that. Now it's like, okay, here I am. This is me pushing outside of my comfort zone. This is me, operating from within my perception of myself, but I have to trust the feedback that I'm getting. So I say this quite often to clients as well. When I'm speaking on stage, I have to trust that what's coming out of my mouth and what people are saying and giving me is the truth. You know what I mean? If I'm in important meetings or I'm very good at showing confidence, and so people will tend to lean toward me for that. Like, what's the answer, Nikki? And I'm like, I don't freaking know what the answer is. Like, Jesus, I'm just faking it as well. So now it feels like, okay, this is my opportunity to stretch in. It also, I think, has softened in being in many situations where people that I have thought had all their shit together don't, and it's like everybody is playing in this space of just having a go, and they don't know the answers. And whilst they may look very put together, companies may look like they've got beautiful branding and taglines. Your friend who's got the perfect house might look like she's got it all together. I can tell you, she has not. So I think experience comes with that as well. There's not a woman that I've spoken to that hasn't come to me going, yeah, but if they knew this about me, they wouldn't like me or they wouldn't think that. And it's like, you know what? We're all telling ourselves the same story. So I think that experience softens the experience of the imposter. So like I said, it used to be very much like, oh my God, I'm not telling the truth and I'm lying. And now it's like, okay, here's my opportunity to step into this.
When you originally had those imposter syndrome thoughts, like what were the actions or the results that you were getting out of it? Because obviously it was holding you back in some way. And then now
Yeah.
you've reset your mindset.
Yeah, exactly. So I would result in self-sabotage. So, I explain it like, if I can use a metaphor, like you go up to the start line of the race and you're ready and you've done all the prep, and then people say, all right, we're counting on you. Like, we're counting on you to win this race. And then you're like, oh no, my shoe needs tying. Or I just need to learn this. Or, oh no, I'm not quite ready. And you pull back, and it happens very unconsciously, but something will distract you, or all of a sudden you need to go and do this very important thing over here. And that's how the imposter syndrome shows up in self-sabotage.
And so now what do you say to it when it appears?
Go anyway. Literally go anyway.
I
Like
like it.
I think one of the biggest my biggest success tools, and I probably did it quite unconsciously sometimes. Now it's much more conscious. Is be willing to look like an idiot. Be willing to get it wrong. Be willing to take off from the starting line or fall on your face, and have a laugh at yourself. That is like honestly. When you first start this entrepreneurial journey, Celeste, people who are well ahead of you say, keep showing up, keep showing up. And they're absolutely 100% right. And I was so disappointed when I found that out because I was like, what, that's it then? I just have to keep showing up. It's not this, like you said, it's not the doctorate or the psychology degree or the work that I've done. Oh, just keep showing up. Okay, I've got it. But no, very, very much, our fear of rejection is the thing that brings in the imposter syndrome. Our fear of being found out is the thing that stops us from doing it. So it's like, okay, there's probably two parts to it. Really dig into your own fears and voice them. Like work with a coach and voice them and take the energy and the sting away from them. Like take the shame away from them. And then be
Mhm.
willing to be laughed at. Be willing to get it wrong. And that's probably one of the hardest things for humans, I think.
It helps though when you can lead yourself and you trust yourself that much more because if you can do it once, you can do it 1,000 times over.
Yes and no. Like, yeah, absolutely. And I think this is where immersive work happens because, people go into, say, like a Tony Robbins room or something and they walk on fire and they're like, oh my God, if I can do that, I can do anything. And then they can't go and have a difficult conversation with their partner the next day. So, yes and no. Like, definitely.
The same thing.
Oh, the same.
Yeah, like yeah, the same
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah. If you're repetitively doing it, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
But do you think that it gives you more self-trust in those other moments? So, if you walk on fire, you can go maybe initiate that difficult conversation.
Yes, and that's the intention. But it's like I say to people, it's like getting over if you've ever done abseiling. Every time you abseil, that first tip over the back of the cliff is terrifying. Once you get over, you're fine. So I think it takes a few goes for you to go, oh, hang on a minute. I know that this is not real. Like I'll get over that. So with somebody, say, having a difficult conversation or standing up for themselves at work or, putting themselves out there to start a business or going for the promotion or, asking the person out or whatever it might be, we're not often doing those things very often or repetitively, so it's like, okay, where can we draw on that experience to go, this is the same feeling in your body, like get over the edge of the cliff. Yeah.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so you call yourself a personal leadership
Mm.
coach. What does self-leadership actually mean to you now, and how is it different from just being strong?
Yeah, good question. And I you know, dabble with this one quite often because what the work that I do is life coaching, right? But it's so broad to say that. And so for me, it always comes back to personal leadership because it is about leading yourself. And so the way that it differs from being strong, Celeste, is being strong is often standing for others or for something else, right? Standing and being the figurehead or the head of the family or the head of the team or, even in your friend group, oh, she's the one that'll go and speak up, can you go and say that thing or however it might be. Personal leadership is where you get to say no. And you're like, this isn't good for me. And no, I'm going to choose me. And I'm not doing that out of obligation. And I'm not doing that out of conditioned behavior. And really, like I said, stepping back into who am I? What do I really want? Like, if I use a really simple example, helping a client go through, when Christmas comes up, Christmas brings a lot of stuff for people and expectations and things. And she was like, she didn't want to spend Christmas with her family. That's personal leadership. Being able to navigate, saying, you know what, I'm choosing to be on my own on this day, even though the whole world is telling me that's wrong. That's where personal leadership sits. What do I want? Not what does the world tell me I should want and that I'm wrong for not wanting it.
I love your definition
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, it's learning how to set your
I know what I said,
boundaries.
so let's feed it back to me later and I'll write it down and make a note.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
But marketing brand right here.
exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's really about learning who you are
yeah.
and being able to show that person to the world, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just
And
wearing your
let people
mask.
down because when you stand in your own power, not everybody's going to be okay with it. Everybody wants you to stand in your power, but it will impact them in some way. And so when it's like, I just read a post yesterday because 12 months ago my son turned 18 and I had a moment of like, oh my God, what have I been doing, right? We just they had a whole thing, they had the party, the whole thing, and I was like miserable, but I'd done it for everybody else. And I was like, you know, so when you start to step back into your power after that moment, after that realization that I had, I took 3 months off of life, I called it, like a 3 month hiatus where I said, no one, I'm not coming to anything I don't want to come to. I'm just saying I'm saying no when I need to say no. Like, don't ask me to come to parties. Don't ask me. I cancelled Christmas. I said to the kids, I'm just staying home in my pajamas all day. I'm doing nothing. You guys, if you want to go to your dad, you want to do something, I'm 100%. I'll support you either way. Funnily enough, they were like, oh, thank God, we'll just stay home and watch movies, you know. Everybody wanted a break. It's hard to navigate Christmas when you've been in a whole family for so long and now you're figuring out how to do it as a separate family. And my parents had separated too, so our whole structure fell apart. And so we spent a few years pretending that that was all okay. And then yeah, so like I said, the 3 months off for me was like, right, don't freaking come near me. And that was that's, you know, choosing yourself and that personal leadership, and that's where, you know, you let people down. And so to be sitting in your own personal leadership means knowing that you're letting people down from a place of self-love, not from a place of like, I'm putting up a wall for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and those people that really love you and understand you, they'll accept it because they know that you need
Yeah,
it.
and this is the thing that
Yeah.
we don't know as women, I think. We have such an aversion to letting others down that we forget that they love us too. And that, you know, if we're saying actually it's not because I'm angry, it's not because I'm you know, putting in barriers or walls or holding you at arm's length, it's because I need this space. And when we can frame it up in the correct way, most people will be okay with that.
Yeah, having that open and honest conversation. Those are the scariest
Oh,
ones though, because you
it's
don't
way
know.
harder than going off a
They're
cliff,
gonna
babe.
quit.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the hardest truth is about feminine leadership that women don't want to hear
Oh.
but desperately need
Good
to?
question. Oh, get juicy now. Um, let me premise this with, you know, when I was in the army, Celeste, I very much had an attitude of, I can be better than all the boys, and I will work hard, and I will, you know, fight you for it, kind of thing. I had a real kind of, yeah, something to prove, I guess, is the energy. And I
Mhm.
remember saying like, you know, get like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be like them, and I'll talk like them, and I'll behave like them, and you know, if they can do it, why can't I do it? That real kind of equality conversation. I will be the same. And this has been my life's journey. I was then deployed to East Timor as the only female in the barracks. Mistake, not meant to happen. Whoopsie. But it was my life's moment where it was like I was sat in my bedroom in a, you know, camp in a war zone, crying my eyes out, watching Reese Witherspoon in what's the one where she's a lawyer?
Uh, Legally
Legally
Blonde.
Blonde, crying, wishing that I could do my nails and wear pink. And, you know, I was like, hang on a minute. I'm a girl. So I think the thing that women need to hear in leadership is that we are not men and we are not meant to behave like men. And I know, I always think equity is a better word than equality because we're not the same and we bring such a beautiful difference to that space, and this took me a long time to learn, and even there's a part of me still cringing as I say this, going like, I can't believe you're saying this, Nikki, because I fought so fiercely for the sameness, you know what I mean? And it's like, yes, we can, of course we can do all the same things, but we're not meant to. Actually, we're meant to bring our beautiful
Mhm.
feminine leadership. We're meant to bring, you know, the solid strength that we have in that emotional space that women bring rather than just competing in that kind of pragmatic space. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely wonderfully said, Nikki. Yeah. Well, I'm going to change gears
Oh,
here because I want to go to your mantra that you have,
happiness trumps
and
all.
that
Yes.
is happiness trumps all.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a big one.
So, how did that truth emerge for you, and what does it mean in the practice for women leading their own lives?
Mm. So I guess I can't really even remember where I first landed it. I may have been when I first started my personal development journey, but um, no, actually, because my background, Celeste, is like I've been like the girl who followed along. Like I would say I was a follower at school, etc., and the good girl. But when it counted, I wasn't afraid to go, no, I'm choosing that. You know, I'm choosing me. So, for example, going off to join the army, my poor mother was like devastated. Breaking off an engagement that I was in was like, you know, let everybody down. But I was like, no, I'm going in this direction because my happiness is over here. So I think I sort of started to build that mantra in those life moments where I was like, happiness trumps all. I don't know why. I think I've got quite a connection to like the spiritual world, but it's like I just know that a lot of this is a game and we're here for one shot. And yes, we can do the hard work. I love doing the hard work. I love the challenges, all of that. But it's like in the end, happiness is when you lay on your deathbed at, let's say, 117 years old. Because that's how long I'm living. You're not going to look back and go, like, oh, I'm so glad. I know this sounds really cliche. I'm so glad that I did all that hard work. I am glad that I did it, but I'm glad because I got to live in the moment. We forget that moment that you're standing at the kitchen sink and your kids come and tell you something exciting, like they're the moments of happiness. Like happiness trumps all. And so I've walked away from relationships, leaving everything, like everything in the house, going like, yeah, cool, I don't care. I'll start again. There's just like happiness is more important than anything to me. And I think that's where your guidance is. And I think that's where, when we start to live in happiness, our purpose emerges and our, relationship emerges and the way comes to us, whereas in like, I'm going to go and learn this tool or I'm going to go and do this course or whatever, developing going into therapy or going into coaching or going into some kind of like self-leadership and personal development, because when you're following that happiness, you're in flow. Those ideas are going to come a lot quicker. You're going to feel a lot more aligned with that. Everything's going to feel a little bit simpler. So, and I think it's something that the world pushes up against. The world's like, get a job, go to uni, work hard, do this. And it's like, yes, yes, yes. But they can coexist. You know what I mean? You don't have to do it in the timeline that you've been given. You don't have to do it in the order that you've been given. I was just having a conversation the other day where I said, in year 11, I did so well. I was an excellent student. In year 12, I got 17% on what we call our HSC here because I just partied the whole time. People are, oh, you have to have that piece of paper to finish school. No, you don't. I went back to school and got high distinctions. I went back to university and did really well because I wanted to be there. Like, you don't have to play on the timeline that the world is giving you. You get to just have fun sometimes,
Yeah, I love that. I think what people don't realize is that you are the only person that you are going to be with for your entire
Yes,
life.
exactly.
And so why
Yeah,
not get to know all of the little ins and outs, because you are the only person that's going to know your
yes,
truths and your
yeah.
lies and yeah, to the 100%.
Chase your pleasure. You know what I mean? This is a big one for women as well. Chase your pleasure because that's where our intuition lies. That's where our, when we can relax our brain. I was just saying to my daughter yesterday, she was in a performance last night and she said, you know what, Mum, honestly, I just didn't care in the end and I just went and did it. And I thought if I could do it in the run through, I would have been fine on stage. And I go, that is actually the key to success, because when you're worried about remembering every line or doing everything right, that's where your brain shuts down.
Mhm.
When you're like, I can trust myself.
Yeah, I know that way too well.
Yeah, yeah, I bet you do. I've repeated this 100 times. I need to now trust that my brain knows what to do, or I trust that I've, done that enough times to be able to do it automatically. So you have to sit back in some calm and some trust. And I think that's one of the hardest things that I see, especially our teenagers going through. Hmm.
I agree. Yeah. That's the thing that I've learned from being a musician, right? You sit in a practice room for 2 or 3 or 4 hours a day, right? And then you play it and it's almost like muscle memory,
Yes.
or it just becomes ingrained as a part of
Yes, it's
you.
automatic. That's funny. My eldest son is a musician as well. So, but I use that analogy with when I was in the army. We did a lot of marching, right? So lots of practice and go this way and do this and do that. And if I thought about it, I'd stuff it up every time. But if you just go with the muscle memory, same with the guitar, right? Yeah, or piano, whatever. But yeah, the muscle memory. And we have to. I think something that we live in a world of watch out. We live in a world of watch out, fear. Don't do these three things. Oh my God, do you do this? This is wrong with you. This is why you behave this way. And we've got so much knowledge that it makes us afraid to sit and just trust ourselves.
Yeah, that makes me think about living in the moment, right? Like they say, if you think about walking up the stairs, you're gonna trip. Like if you're like placing your foot,
Yes.
but like you're living in the moment and you're just like being there, but you're not really trying to force it or micromanage it. That's where the real sweet spot is.
Yeah,
So
100%. And that's something now to bring attention back to, or to just bring attention back to, because it's like, oh, hang on a minute, you've forgotten that your body knows exactly what to do. Yeah, you like you've done, or like what you said. If you've done something repetitively, your brain has made that like solid. It's like, okay, cool, we got it.
So if we tie this back to our imposter syndrome and our inner critic, right?
Mm,
And you think,
mm.
what is the proof that I actually have been able to do this before? Like, is this voice that's telling me you can't do this? Well, who are you to be this person, right? Go and look back at your truths,
Yeah,
the hundred things that you've done to prove yourself that you're okay in this space and that you actually are worthy to be in this
yeah,
place.
exactly. And I mean, it goes both ways. The reason imposter syndrome is there is because you've told yourself 1,000 times that you can't, right? And so I always sort of, there's a couple of things to ask yourself here. Like you said, who is this voice? Because firstly, it's not yours. You didn't come out of the womb with that voice. You were given it somewhere along the
Yes.
way. And so I always joke and go, you didn't come out of the room going, don't look at me, I've got fat legs, You came out going, feed me, bitches. Like, why did you take me out of there? Like, yeah. And you demanded to be taken care of. It was our survival need, yeah. And then somewhere along the way, someone gave you a concept of yourself, which was shy, wrong, right, happy, sad, too sensitive, too confident, whatever it is, and you've taken that on as the truth. And so the first point of call for imposter syndrome is to go, hang on, whose voice is that? Where did I learn that?
And then you challenge it. You say, is this actually even true?
Is it true? And then, like I said, then you can move into the fact. I always do a sort of fact versus story. Like the story is that you're too sensitive, but what's the fact? How did you behave in this situation? What are the facts in this? And how can you pull on those? You know what I mean? Like you said, have your little jar with your notes in it. How can you get proof to yourself? Because for your brain to let go of an idea, it needs a lot of proof, doesn't it? It needs to be told 1,000
It
times
does.
the opposite story. So keep doing that, yeah. And then also when you go, whose voice is this? It's like, do I want to have that person's experience of the world? Do I want to? So, for example, my mum would always say to me, don't, she doesn't like to worry. So don't do that. It makes me worried. And it's like, yeah, but my mum's version of the world and how she's living is not how I want to live. And so it's like, do I want to keep her belief or do I want to have my own?
Hmm. And it comes back to your happiness trumps all.
Happiness trumps all, baby. Give it a risk. Yeah. And like, really, what are you going to lose? And the thing is, as well, be okay with loss. Like, when you choose happiness, you will make decisions that cause loss. Like, you maybe will lose a friend, lose money. Like I said, I've walked away from situations where, like, stuff it, like, I'll leave all that behind. I don't care. I'm going to go towards my happiness. You'll lose ego because you'll embarrass yourself at points, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, that's part of life as well. It's be okay with loss.
I love that. Okay, I feel like that was almost a strong point to end on, but I have one more question for you. So, if you were going to leave the listeners with just one thing to take away from today or one thing to remember, what would it be?
Oh, such a hard one. I've got so many things on the list. Just one thing. Oh, let me feel into that. Um, my what's coming up for me is my just one thing would be question what you think is true about you. Yeah, ask someone else.
I love
Yeah,
that.
ask a friend, but also don't ask a friend. Ask someone that maybe is a colleague or a friend of a friend or someone who doesn't know you, like, question what you think is true about you. Because, yeah, we've, again, the conditioned beliefs in who we think we are. Identity is the strongest predictor of behavior. So, that old quote, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So it's like, challenge that because just like what I said before, I did not think ever that I was a strong leader, yet my whole life has shown me that. And it took like years to trust that, you know what I mean? So start noticing the patterns that show up in your life and question who you think you are.
I absolutely love that. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us
You're
today.
welcome.
I am going to, if anybody wants to talk to Nikki or to work with her in the future, we're going to put all of her links in the description. So please check those out. And we will talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
amazing. Thank you so much, Celeste. It's been wonderful to chat with you.
Likewise.
Thanks, darling.
Nikki's story shows us something that we don't hear enough. Even the strongest women break. Even the women who look unstoppable on the outside are often battling their own doubt or grief or exhaustion in private. And the cracks that she shared remind us that happiness has to become our guide, not the script of what success should look like, or not what other people think that you should be, but what genuinely feels good, what lights you up. And here's the truth. The life that you want won't just fall into place tomorrow. If you're living in misalignment today, that's a signal. It's not a sentence. It's not a shame story. It's just a signal. You are the only one who can start steering towards something truer. And it is not punishment, it is possibility. It's one of the most beautiful invitations that life gives to you to get curious about who you really are. Self-leadership starts with that curiosity and with some grace. And remembering that you're already successful just by being here, but still asking the questions, even if you're still searching. So here are our toolbox items for today. And these are 3 practices to begin your own self-leadership. The first one is I want you to stand in front of the mirror for 60 seconds. This is called our mirror test. I want you to stand there and really, really look at yourself. Look into your eyes and ask, do I see the true, authentic me, or do I see a stranger? And I want you to write down what comes up for you. There may be emotions, there may be some different words, or you might feel that numbness that you want to reach towards because you don't want to feel what's coming up for you. I want you to write the why behind it. Why do you see the true, authentic you? Or why do you see a stranger? What is it? Maybe the sparkle has gone from your eyes like it did for me. Maybe you look tired or burnt out or simply unfamiliar. This practice should help reveal where your identity feels disconnected. And it brings you face to face, literally, with the truth that you've been avoiding. Second is called spotting the performance pattern. We often don't realize when we are performing. It's just something that we do on a normal basis. And the first step to change is simply noticing. So this week, I want you to catch one moment where you're in performance mode, whether you're over-explaining yourself or over-functioning, packing your calendar like it's a Tetris board, or saying yes when you mean no. And when it happens, pause and ask yourself, am I leading my life right now? Or am I performing for someone else's approval? Jot it down in a journal or in a phone note if you can. And over time, these little awareness moments are going to break that automatic loop of performance and make space for true leadership. And finally, we have reframing imposter syndrome. That inner critic can sound extremely loud sometimes. And maybe it's saying, who are you to do this? Well, here's your reframe. Who am I not to? I really want you to get used to talking to this voice, and it may feel a little silly for a while, but talk to that voice like it is the 5-year-old self, like it's your 5-year-old self. And it's scared, and it's just wanting you to be safe. You can tell it, I see you. I hear you. But I've got us now. And then I want you to keep a running list of evidence. Write down all of the ways that you've grown, the moments that you've shown up, or the times that you didn't think that you could do it, but you still did. Each of those entries is proof of your strength. It's a brick of self-trust that you can stand on, and you're going to build them one step at a time. And this shifts you from constantly trying to prove your worth to simply just reclaiming it. I am worthy because I'm me. One act of self-trust at a time. Self-leadership is not about perfection. It's about the courage to stop performing, to notice the patterns and take even the smallest steps towards leading your own life. If today's episode resonated with you and you want to go deeper, head to my website and check out Becoming the Radiant Woman workbook. It's designed to help you step into self-leadership in your own life with practical exercises that guide you through identity and alignment and reclaiming your voice. I would also love to hear your stories. What stood out? What questions do you have? And what you would like to hear more of on this podcast. Reach out, comment, share your own reflections, and let's keep this conversation alive. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, you were never meant to dim your light. Thanks for tuning in and being here, for healing out loud, and for walking this path beside me. If this episode cracked something open or helped you remember a part of yourself, pass it on and share it with someone you love. For more support, free resources, or the next steps to your journey, head over to my website, myhealingisyourhealing.com. And if you loved today's conversation, subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your words help this space grow and help more women find their way home to themselves. If I was your muse today, then my healing is your healing. Until next time.